how's it going, everybody? This is Adrenaline Racing Championship Season 1. We're on round 4 here at Mount Panorama. We're at Bathurst. I'm Kobu. How's it going, Lateral?
I'm doing excellent. Should be a great day for racing here in Australia.
Oh yeah, awesome. So they're just getting started with qualifications right now. Looks like they had some good stuck checks. No one's stuck. Everyone's here. We have a replacement driver for Team Porsche. This is going to be permanent. How do you think this is going to shake it up?
Should be very interesting here, as Obama is now no longer with us in the championship, as we have the new driver Alex Rogers filling in for him. Speaking of drivers, let's go over the driver field right now. In our first car, the Alfa Romeo 4C Team Bull featuring PKM Z30 and Azeron GTS. Lemon Tea Racing featuring Lemon Pen and Thomas Mr. TT in the BMW M3. Team Honey Badgers featuring Dark Reef Slark in the Dan's 303 Lexus RCF. Matcon Racing featuring Matt Wing and Defcon AC in the AMG GT3. Nissan Red Bull Racing featuring Bauk 21 and CJ 2041 in the Nissan GTR. Racing now featuring the new driver Alex Rogers and My Save Loy in the Porsche 911. And the Beatles featuring CRubennnn and John Swips in the Beetle Group 3.
This is going to be a very interesting circuit. It's very heavy on cars with good straight line speed. Very loose corners, very tight down the mountain, but it's not too technical. So cars with the best straight line speed are going to definitely benefit here. Who do you think is going to win out of the cars today?
Well, we saw last race at Monza, the straight line speed of the GTR just provided very hard to fight against. On those 2 or 3 very long straights in Mount Panorama, known for having its 2 very long straights here, as we see Bauk starting his qualifying lap. And we know Bauk, after speaking to him, has been waiting for this race for a long time. After struggling in the first 2 rounds and making a good comeback at Monza in the 3rd round, I believe this might be his chance to finally take the top spot on the podium.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. I love the GTR around this track. It's very, very solid and very planted. Especially through the mountain section, you don't have much of a hassle going through. It doesn't get very loose with that very heavy front end that it has. So I think one of the things that they'll have to take a look at here is going to be their tire wear and see who can manage it the best.
Do you know how many laps this race is going to be?
So this lap, the laps for this week is going to be 22 laps.
22 laps at Mount. Should be very interesting to watch. I could see some drivers doing a 2-stop for going for 3 rounds on softs, just trying to make the best that they can out of the braking zones on the long straight and that mountain section. I don't think we're going to see too many drivers going for a medium or even the hard tire, to be honest. I feel like softs are the way to go here.
Yep, softs are pretty manageable on this track. There's not a lot of turning going on. The mountain is not as brutal on the tires that you might think, so tire wear should be a lot less in comparison to Monza, but it will definitely come into play in the later stages of the race.
Just on board Ruben now in the back straightaway, the winner of the last round of Monza, winning of his superior strategy due to tire wear. A driver we actually didn't think might have won until the last 5 laps, until we saw the move that made him take the first position, and being able to hold off about 21 due to his superior tire wear. How do you think the field of Beetle might hold up today?
So I don't think the Beetle has too great of the straight line speed in its top end. So if any of the cars like the AMG or the Lexus or the GTR get behind or even get in front of the Beetle, Beetle is going to have a hard time keeping up. It's very good down the mountain section, which is where it gains back its advantage. I Lexus is sort of like that middle ground of power and handling. I think the Beetle will struggle to compete with the other competitors today.
I would have to agree there, as we see the replacement driver for Obama, Alex Rogers, taking a temporary pole position in that Porsche 911, going through the mountain section now. Porsche, not known for its straight line speed, better known for its braking capabilities and its turning capabilities, of course. But good job by the driver, good showing for him. Fast replacement driver there, also going purple through the second sector. As the driver goes around, it's a Lexus there. CRubennnn takes avoiding action. It looked like Dancer 3 and Azeron making a mistake in the mountain section.
That's another thing. You know, this is going to be a fairly long race. Who knows how much practice these drivers have gotten on the mountain. The few corners that you have in the S's down the mountain is very important to get right. One mistake is very, very defeating to you, because when you hit one of those walls, you're going to lose a ton of time.
As we see now, Dan Street a little upset with Azeron there. Maybe possibly a little hint as to what happened there. See Alex Rodriguez pulling off, or Alex Rogers, I should say, pulling off for another set of new tires. Swiftly Logo, provisional second, and PKMZ in the 4C in third place. Interesting top three we have right now, all of which are cars maybe not the best suited to straight line speed, but are currently in the top three.
Yeah, it's very surprising. I personally have put in a lot of practice in the GTR on this track for the last few days, and I'm expecting somewhere around 201s in the GTR. So maybe we can see some of that in the other cars as well.
Well, I'm just on board with Swiftly Logo right now, as we can see right behind him. Valk 21, he's going to get the toe of that Beetle on the back straightaway, I should say. So we might see a good lap from Valk here with that draft.
Yeah, as they come up into the chase, this is one of the crucial kinks. If you get it wrong, you just kind of you lose a lot of time, because you're not carrying all that speed that you came down from the mountain with. So without that speed, you kind of ruin the next turn into the chase as you go through the Murray's corner for your final part of your lap as they go into the pits. The chase is super important, because it's just such a long straight. That kink, you need to carry all of that speed that you gathered up going down the mountain.
Mount Panorama here, very difficult track, especially in that mountain section. A lot of close walls. You make a slight mistake, you're going to hit that wall, and that's not a good time for you and possibly some of the drivers behind you that might run into the back of you. But we do know some of the drivers have received a lot of practice, especially this week, with one of the daily races being a race here at Mount Panorama, featuring tire wear as well. So we know a lot of drivers have been practicing that race in preparation for this one, but it should be a very interesting one.
Now, the race that they have Mount Panorama this week, it is a night race, which it creates a different dynamic, because some drivers are pushing the limit of the tracks and they're kicking up dust, and that creates a little bit of trouble in close racing. But here we've got a little bit of dusk going on. It's not too dark, so it looks like there will be good visibility going around these corners today.
We're just going to go on board Lemon Pen, who happens to be on a flying lap right now, going through the mountain section. And that BMW M3 just behind Valk 21, who is on his out lap after making a pit stop for a new set of tires. Lemon Pen may be looking at a good lap here, only a 10th off of his best time. Getting a little squirrely there to the right-hander. Doing his best to try and close that gap to that GTR, trying to maybe get a toe from that GTR on the straightaway here. That significantly helped his lap time. But the GTR team's just too far away to get that draft.
And GTR can get up to 165, 170 miles per hour down the straight. It's a powerhouse in comparison to any other cars that are on the track today. So it's going to be interesting to see how Valk and even CJ interesting to see how they can improve their times for qualifying and see if they can possibly take a pull today.
So we see one of them pulling as for new set of tires. Going to go on board with Balk 21 for this entire lap. Comes across the start finish line through the 90-degree left-hander. Now into the first long straightaway, right past Swifty Logo, who is also on his flying lap. Balk 21, that GTR, going to use all of that power on that long front straightaway, going purple, almost up by 3/10 in that first sector. Going to be hard on the brake right before the 50 board, turning in for the right-hander. Don't want to touch the curb as it throws the car wide. Going to take a little bit of the exit curb to carry the speed out. Going to go all the way out to the right side, carry up to the wall. Hard on the brake while turning here. Going to make some mistake though. Into the wall he goes. That's going to be a throwaway lap for him.
That's super unfortunate. Those turns are super hard to get right. With the GTR, it does get a little unsettled if you touch any of the curbs, and then going up the mountain, it wants to squirrel out from behind you. Definitely have to be a little gentle going up the mountain. And then coming down these S's, you have to, tap the brakes, because if you're holding the brakes the whole time, you're gonna understeer a lot, and you're just gonna send it straight into the walls.
As you see Balk now, after making that slight mistake in tapping the wall, almost 3 seconds down on the best time. We're going to go on board now with Swifty Logo, who's currently in second, and looking like it might be a good lap from him. We're going to see him pass the sector marker as he crests over the tail and goes under the sign. See what kind of lap he's on. He's purple, going up by 0.23, I should say. Going to enter the chase now. Braking hard at the 100 board. I'm going to make that left-hander, taking as much curb as he can, take a little bit more curb on the exit, and carry it back to the other side of the track. Going to be braking hard around just before the 50 board. Going to take that left-hander a little wide though, a little loose. Not able to get the power down as soon as he'd like to, but it should be a good lap from him nonetheless. Almost.
Improved very slightly. He did make a little bit of mistakes coming through the chase. Didn't carry as much power through the corner as he'd like. I think he could have definitely improved a little bit more there as he came through the final 2 corners. But following him through now, still he's got a very slight purple sector going on for the first sector. Going about was that 0.037.
Looked like it, yeah. And now he's going to go to that tight left-hander, hugging the wall as much as he can, carry the speed all the way back to the outside. Again, don't want to touch the curb because it throws the car wide. Carry speed out to the wall, all the way to the inside now. Just taking a little bit of the exit curb. Don't want to dip 2 tires off there as it's grass. Just get as tight as you can here, all the way back to the other side of the wall. Make sure it's tight, flat through this section now. Go through the tight hairpin chicane here in the mountain, downhill. You want to try and make sure you take this as fast as you can so you don't lose as much time, but you also want to stay on the right-hand side of the track so you can get that tight little chicane just right, all the way close to the wall again. You want to hug the walls as much as you can now. The tight left-hander right before the long straightaway. And now he's back on the throttle as soon as he can. But a little squirrely there, might cost him a few hundredths. But now it's flat onto the back straightaway, under the Audi R8 sign.
Coming up into the chase, he's going to try and max out him as much power as he can. He wants to swing to the left a little bit so he can just, minimize the amount of turning he's going into this corner so he doesn't drop off that speed. As he goes into the chase, he does hit the curb a little bit. That could have unsettled the car, but it looks like he's going to be fine for now as he comes into the final corner.
Yeah, decides out of it the last second, realizes it wouldn't be a good lap. Decides it'd be better to get a new set of tires. There's our current pole position, Alex Rogers, the replacement for Obama, still currently on pole at 202.3. Haven't seen a lot of him lately. He's currently on an outlap through the mountain section. But good job for him for putting it on pole currently.
Yep, and it looks like he's going to be a good replacement for Obama, who's just seemed to have issues getting onto the track on time. Maybe some stomach issues or something like that. But it's definitely one of those things. It's good to have a replacement that can, be a good comparison here on the Porsche team, so that they're not losing a lot of time.
As we see, Lemon Pen taking that pole position. Lemon Penn, a driver that was very fast at Monza, but not consistent in the race, falling back throughout the laps. Just not able to deal with the pressure and maintain consistently fast laps. So Lemon Penn here, I don't know if he would have improved that. It seems to be a fault of his, making mistakes throughout the race. He is a very quick driver. He can go top. We've seen it before. But it'll be interesting if he can hold that position throughout the course of the race.
Now, here's one of the interesting things going on with the current standings. We've got, well, now, I was going to say 5 different cars in the top 5 as PKMZ improves above Bauk into 5th position. You know, we've got cars that are not traditionally very fast in the straights, but they're making it work.
I wonder if Bauk is, and by extension CJ, are having difficulty getting that GTR just to hook up through a lot of the tighter chicanes. But you know, the GTR not the best on turn-ins, so it might be the fact that these better handling cars, even though they're not as powerful in the straights, could just be more consistently hitting faster laps, and that's why we see them ahead of Bauk and CJ. Whereas in the race, we could see Bauk and CJ make the comeback, as that straight line speed is very important to making those passes.
Yep, and it could also be a situation like at Monza. Bauk seemed to have gotten a lot more comfortable as the race went on, and he definitely improved a lot more. So maybe this is going to be another situation where we see Bauk sort of turn it on once the race starts.
And we did happen to miss it or not mention it, but we see Lemon Penn's teammate Thomas, Mr. TT, going 2nd place in the BMW M3. On the back straightaway, also another kid on the flying lap, going to be hitting the crest, but not quite down. Probably, I would assume, if they're 100% fresh tires here. Do you know how much time is remaining left in this qualifying session?
We've got about 3 minutes left. It's a 20-minute qualifier, so it shouldn't be too much longer.
We might see some people pitting for fresh tires and trying to set one fast lap, I would assume. Thomas, Mr. TT, for going to pit stop after being down, but going to try and use the toe of the 3rd place driver, Alex Rogers, possibly on the front straightaway here, as they cross the start-finish line.
Coming up into the first straight, going into the mountain, they're going to be looking to possibly take the 1-2 today for Team BMW. It does go a little bit slower, so maybe the tire wear is affecting a little bit. He may be able to improve. These sectors are based off of the fastest going through those sectors. Maybe Lemon's got something figured out when it comes to going through the first straight. As he comes into this tight little corner called cutting into the mountain, as they want to hug the inside, swing it out wide, and then they want to cut in, basically hit flat out with these cars that have very good handling. They don't want to release the throttle at all. They can definitely handle the turns at this point. As they come over this crest, come down through this corner, want to make it tight, swing it wide so they can carry as much speed. Coming down the S's, they want to basically tap the brakes, sliding around a little bit, so might not be able to improve through these corners as he's coming into the final elbow of the mountain.
As he picks up a 6-second penalty, and we see him dropping off the back of the 4th place Alex Rogers, who seems to be fast through that section. We're going to go on board with him, see if he can improve, as we see Swifty logo in the Beetle going 2nd place, splitting the BMWs. Going to see where Alex Rogers sits as he enters the bottom of the sign, going purple, up by 4/10, almost half a second. Being at the last few corners right, Alex Rogers could be back on pole position.
Yep, and he took that the elbow going into the chase really, really well. He went wide and just basically swung it in without losing much speed as he comes into the final corner, the Murray's corner. We'll see where he ends up for his qualifying lap.
Good exit all the way out of the curb, hard on the throttle. We're going to see possibly a 2:01 here, and we do, up by almost half a second over Lemon Penn.
That is the only 2:01 currently in qualifying as they finish qualifying. Haven't heard anything from the RDs, but I assume that it will be needs to finish their
We see the 1 minute remaining now. Possibly a little timing glitch as we see. As we know, 1 minute remaining. That is not enough for a lap, but some people on a lap right now will try to make another one. As we do see currently your pole position, Alex Rogers in the 911, PSN in the BMW M3 in third, Swifty Logo side by side with CJ and that Volkswagen Beetle as he enters the chase now. On a flying lap, we'll see what Swifty, if he can improve here. Just under the Armor All tire bridge. Hard on the brakes right before the 50 board, gonna get it turned in, not taking the curb on the inside, not taking the curb on the outside, might not be the best. Yeah, he's not quite on a good lap here. Made a slight mistake. As there's a yellow flag in turn 1, as there's a driver off deciding I'm not gonna do the rest of that lap. Swifty Logo though, on another flying lap. 4th place, Thomas Mr. TT, currently stopped on the side of the track in that BMW. PKMZ in that 4C, currently in 4th.
So PKMZ does improve very slightly off of his previous time, about a tenth faster than his previous 202. Interestingly enough.
So again, qualifying over now. Alex Rogers, your pole position with a 2:01.4. PSN in second, BMW M3. Thomas Mr. TT in third, the BMW M3. PKMZ in fourth in the Alfa Romeo 4C. In Dane's 303, a driver we haven't seen a lot of, in 5th place, and that Lexus RCF.
Now we had a different look in this race today. We had the top 3, which ended up being Dan, CRubennnn, and Bout from last week on the podium. And currently, we don't see any of them getting very close. They are 5th, 6th, and 7th, though. Very close to each other.
You see a little disconnect from Dan's, possibly a slight issue there, and speaking of the internet. But I do believe we missed in the top 5 there, the driver of Swifty Logo who happened to enter the pits. But I do believe he is in the top 3, if I'm not mistaken.
You did see Dan's disconnect, right?
Yes.
Okay. I know that there's a little bit of issues with the lobbies where people can disconnect, but they're still there. So I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Well, Dan did get his qualifying in before the disconnect, so he should get that qualifying position back for the start of the race. But again, as the top 3, just gonna look at the current qualifying standings between the live timing here. During the fastest laps. If I can figure out a way to sort by fastest laps here. We do see, again, Swifty Logo, that 2:02.17 would be sitting in third above Thomas Mr. TT. The rest of the field would drop back into position. So we do see 3 different cars in the top 3. We do hear that there will be a delay due to some disconnects.
So there is a delay for the race at the moment as we wait to see what we can do to figure out Dan's situation.
grid should be very interesting, as we're going to see just a bunch of different cars with a bunch of different drivers with different skill levels in a very tight right-hander corner that's very hard on the brakes. We could see some chaos in turn 1, and that'd be very interesting to watch. And then there is a very long straight where we might see cars that are stronger in straights, like that GTR, making up a lot of positions. So the start of the race will be very interesting. I don't expect the field to stay in the same positions that they currently are.
Yep. And another interesting thing, I'm not sure if this is correct or if people have come off the track yet, but the other Lexus is in 6th place, which is interesting because we didn't see much out of the other Lexus with Dark Reef Slark in Monza. So he has improved a little bit in his position coming into this race. Lexus is going to need it as they are coming into this championship, fighting for first and second position.
So Lexus is currently in the first position of the championship?
The current standings is the Lexus, Porsche, and then the Mercedes. So Lexus is leading by a large margin. So having Dark Reef Slark come back from having a sort of lackluster race last week at Monza is going to help them keep their position up on top. Now, with Alex Rogers essentially running away with the position, and my Savoy having a good qualification this time around, this is going to be an interesting competition of first place. And we do have Matt Wing back with us with Team Mercedes, so there's also that to look out for when it comes to the Manufacturers Championship.
Speaking of Matt Wing, a driver who was very quick in the first 2 rounds of the championship, but both those AMGs have dropped down those leaderboards in the last 2 races. They haven't been very consistent here in the last few times that they've entered the track, even though they seem very strong at the start of the season. Do you think it might be just the fact that the car isn't quite suited to these tracks? Or do you think maybe the drivers have gotten a little complacent where they are in the standings?
With Matt Wing, he had some technical difficulties, so he might be getting a little bit of the rust off since he didn't race last week. So maybe he's just, getting accommodated to sitting in the seat of the car again. Where DEF CON seems to have been having a little bit of issues. He was definitely faster, the first 2 rounds, so it's interesting to see whether or not he's going to improve his times during this race.
It will be a very interesting race here on Panorama. Again, not an easy track. This may not be a fair comparison on my end, but that mountain section is very tricky. I find it very similar to a track like the Nürburgring, where it's very narrow. You have walls on both sides of you, ups and downs and tight turns. So we could see a lot of action here, and anything could happen in the course of a race. They might be starting 9th, but who knows? Pit stops might fail, drivers might have crashes, make mistakes, and we could see those AMGs move back up to the top of the field just through happen chance.
Yep, and one of the interesting things is that it seems that Team Mercedes is opting for the racing medium strategy this time around. They both qualified under the medium tires, so that is a little bit of how affecting their times when you qualify. So it'll be interesting to see how the racing mediums compare on the track, since that seemed to be their strategy this time around.
Yeah, I would guess they're looking for a one stop, maybe trying to undercut the rest of the field. Typically, the one stop is faster, especially on the harder tires. If you can start to hold off drivers towards the end of the race, you could definitely make one stop work, but it comes down to the drivers at that point. And this track, with those 2 very long straights, the draft is a very hard thing to fight against. So it'll be an interesting one towards the end of the race if those AMGs are at the front of the pack.
Yep, and it looks like the race is starting in about a minute, so we're about to get started with the Adrenaline Racing Season 1 Round 4 here at Mount Panorama. It's going to be a great one.
It surely will.
Questioning whether or not the BMWs will cut out the Porsche in turn 1.
It'd be a very interesting point, as we do see a Beetle between them. That's one thing we weren't able to call correctly, as the Beetle did decide to enter the pit lane, and once you're in pit lane, you automatically go to the back leaderboards, even though your time is still set. So this would be Beetle of Swoopy is in third as we start the final now. So it will be interesting as we're going to see those two BMWs towards the front of the pack. It'll be interesting to see if we see them work together. As we start the race. Again, Alex Rogers in first place, filling in for a bum in the 911 RSR. Lemon Pen, second place in the BMW M3 GT. Swoopy logo in the Beetle. In third place. So we're going to go on board Thomas Mr. GT for the start of this race. Engines revving.
This is slightly back with PKMZ. He's sitting in fifth. He's on the inside. See how they start and they're off. The BMWs have a great start off the line as the Porsche is a little bit slow. PKMZ basically undercuts Alex Rogers and spins him out. PKMZ is going to stop for that one.
Yes, as we see Darkleaf Stark not getting away, maybe possibly getting damaged, and now all of that is there's a lot of fighting in the back of the field. Now Darkleaf Stark having trouble controlling that car, must have damage, as we see Defcon and Mattwing having a terrible start from both of those drivers now. Both of them out in the first corner, having trouble trying to pick up the slack now. As we see Savloy falling back from the start of the race, as Lemon Pen and Thomas Mr. GT both breaking away from the rest of the field. Dance 303, excellent start from him, up into third place in the Lexus RCF, and we see Bauk now already in fourth place and Azeron in fifth. Alex Rogers up back down to seventh, having an incident in that first corner. I saw him try to make a 3 wide into turn 1, not the smartest choice from him, and CJ up into sixth now.
This is a super shake-up in comparison to what we thought the race start was going to be. We've got people from the back in the front, and the BMW is just running away with it as Dan's, Thomas, and Lemon Pen run away with the top three.
I do have a replay ready for the start of the race, but I do want to stay on the track right now. As we see, there is almost a 4 or 6 car battle for fifth place right now, right? Stacking up behind Azeron. Or CJ, I should say, right behind Azeron, Alex Rogers right behind him, and there's 3 more cars right behind them. This is very close. We're going to see some passes here. I believe we're going to start entering the chase here. I see the power of that GTR just pulling right up on the back of Azeron in that 4C. Going to look for the outside through the elbow. Interesting choice, but the power of that GTR just pulling him right in front. Alex Rogers going to look. Oh, but Azeron going to go on the outside of the GTR, but going to go off track, trying to hold that position, not going to stay very long. And now there's 4 cars battling for 5th place. As Azeron finishes to pull out, this is Alex Rogers falling back now to 8th. PKMZ on the outside of him, but he's going to try to hold the inside because they round the last corner, going to cross the start-finish line. A lot of racing here in the midfield, Mount Panorama.
Yep, there's a lot of entertaining action going on here in the midfield, as we've got 2 Alfa Romeos fighting for position, the Porsche, the Beetle, and the GTR all in the mix here, trying to get that 5th position. CJ up with the power on that draft. It's going to pass the 4C right now. He's going to get ahead, and he's going to slot into 5th position.
Azeron in 6th place behind CJ. Still very close. He's in the braking zone there, opening himself up to his teammate behind him. and Alex Rogers behind him. As we're going to look behind Azeron as the PKMZ runs into the back of his teammate Azeron, getting hard on the brakes, allowing Rogers to slide right up to the inside of PKMZ to the outside of cutting. As we're going to see Alex Rogers now on the inside of this sweeping right-hander. Alex Rogers taking that 7th position. Going to go on board with him as we look behind him, as we see his teammate Sableoy trying to look around the outside of Ruben through these series of left-handers. Not quite going to get that done, but I do want to go on board after all this fighting is done with Dance 303. He was already up into second and has split the BMWs and is pulling away from Thomas Mr. TT in 3rd place.
This could be the effect of the racing mediums being slightly slower than the softs, where Dan has overtaken Thomas Mr. TT, and at this point, Thomas is just essentially going to want to protect his position as much as possible while trying to chase down Dan's and Lexus.
I do want to take us back to the start of the race. Have a replay set up here. Hopefully this works if it's really a while, as we see on board with Alex Rogers here. He starts the final here. He's just losing out to all of those cars, as there's a lot of contact spun by PKMZ on the start of the race. PKMZ just running into the back of Alex Rogers. PKMZ letting Alex Rogers go by. Good sportsmanship from them, but that's why we see Alex Rogers falling back all those positions, and PKMZ as well.
Falling back in with this mid-pack race. They're still fighting it out. There's still a train.
As you see Alex Rogers spins around, dipping 2 tires off the circuit, and just goes around. We're going to go on board with him as he goes around the last corner here. As we see, you're just going to go too wide, dip 2 tires into the grass, and just on the throttle too hard and into the inside wall on the front straightaway.
Super unfortunate to see there as Alex Rogers settles into last position as he lets everyone go by through the final turn, and now he is sitting very far back in the pack. This is super unfortunate. Maybe it was just race nerves.
It's very possible his first race in that car, trying to fill that big role of Obama. You know, started on pole in your first race, and sometimes the nerves get to you, you know? Make mistakes happen, getting the throttle too early, trying to pull away from the guy behind you, and sometimes the car just goes around. It's a learning curve.
Yep. As we follow, again, fighting for 7th position, it is Azerzon in 7th, CRubennnn in 8th, Dark Restock in 9th, My Sableoy in 10th, as CRubennnn goes into the wall. Oh, super unfortunate there. Let's go and watch that. As Sableoy goes into the wall, everyone's crashing. Everything's going wrong.
Excuse me, I missed that. I'm trying to find here, so just I'm over with the logo now. He's right on the back of Sableoy, who did go into the wall. As there's 2 battles here out for 9th and 7th between Sableoy and Sweepy logo here.
Watching the replay back, it looks like CRubennnn went a little too wide, hit the gravel, and spun out his back end, and that was very unfortunate for him, as now he settles into 4th place.
See Sableoy serving his penalty on that back straight.
Oh no!
Azeron, yeah, just missing that braking zone completely, or did we have a wheel failure? Because that was a very interesting one, just on the outside here of Dark Reef. Dark Reef touched him. They touched, and it pushed Azeron into the dirt, and just goes right around.
This was a very unfortunate turn. The elbow is very, very scary to go through too wide. That kind of stuff just kind of happens. Some cars don't have as much handling going too wide, and that one is just unfortunate to see.
As we see Dark Reef Slark now giving the position back to Azeron. As we see Azeron in Dark Reef in 13th and 14th respectively. Alex Rogers already back up into 12th due to that action. Matt Wing on the back of Ruben, who did go into the wall earlier, trying to close that gap on the front straightaway. Move farther up the field here as we see a battle between PKMZ and CJ for 5th place. PKMZ can try to look and get by CJ in the mountain section. We know that 4C very strong up here. CJ can try and hold him off the best that he can as he enters the sweeping left-handers.
Now, this is very important for the GTR to handle through. PKMZ, it's a little too enthusiastic to try and pass through the mountain section. It's very much a hard section to pass through. Might as well just slot in, get that toe once you come out through the elbow into the mountain, out to the chase.
I would have to agree here as PKMZ tries to get a better run than CJ out of that last corner, which he does. going to get that draft. We're going to see possibly a pass. Possibly, I say, as the GTR, just the power of that car is far superior to that, the 4C, but the 4C is closing ever so slightly. We're going to see CJ go defensive, not quite. He's going to give the inside to PKMZ through the elbow. That's going to give CJ the inside to the chase, as they might have touched there. Yes, I do believe they did touch. Yeah, CJ went off track, and PKMZ is going to have to stop and let CJ rejoin in front of him, as that contact not quite the cleanest. But CJ having trouble getting back on track now. That dirt is just, there's no traction. We're going to see both those drivers fall back all the way back to last place because of this that contact.
The elbow seems to be the part where everyone seems to be having issues coming through too wide. It's very, very hard to come through there cleanly. So maybe they might want to rethink and maybe come through in a single file line. We are watching the battle with Mr. Thomas TT and Bauk here in 3rd and 4th. They have reeled in Danz a little bit. Danz is not sitting too far ahead from them as he goes wide through that corner. You want to go a little close to the wall, not as wide as he went through coming up the mountain.
As we see these drivers now through the sweeping left-handers, Thomas just scraping the wall ever so slightly. We see the sparks flying about all the way in the back. Thomas, look behind him as they enter the chicane coming down the mountain. Now we see Bauk just closing ever so slightly in the braking zone, trying to get this just as right as he can, get as close as he can, so he can get the run on the long straightaway. Hopefully we don't see more contact in the elbow like we have seen the past couple laps. As we see Danz picking up a penalty and serving it immediately, that allows Thomas back up to 2nd and Bauk into 3rd. Now on the back straightaway, Bauk right behind the back of that BMW M3. In the draft, you see the gap closing ever so slightly. I say ever so slightly, but it's closing very quickly. The power of the GTR is far superior to that of the M3. Bauk going to look to the inside, to the inside of the elbow, going to go on board here. Maybe they don't touch. They don't touch. Good driving from both of these drivers as they enter the chase now. The GTR into 2nd place.
This is very fortunate for the GTR now that he is in front. He is going to run away on those straights. I don't think the M3 is going to have enough power to keep up with the GTR on the straights. With those medium tires, I think Bauk is going to run away and try and catch up to Lemon Pen at this point.
I would have to agree with you, but at this point, Thomas TT is still right on him, and if you're that close to the draft, you're still going to get that pull. The M3, even though it's not as fast as the GTR, still no slouch on that straightaway. As we do see the GTR just gapping ever so slightly, but now it's coming back down. It's still not going to be close enough for that M3 to fight.
As they go through the mountain, if Bauk can essentially lose the toe of the BMW, the GTR is going to continue to run away on those straights. It has enough power, it just needs to get out of the toe of that BMW and essentially just get away.
Again, still through the mountain section of the BMW M3. Very stable car, especially through these mountain sections. Just maintaining that gap through here, but it has increased to half a second now. Bauk very quick the last couple of corners. I would expect to see it close over the last couple chicanes coming down the mountain, however. But we are 6 laps in. Let's have a look at the tire wear through the rest of the field, as we do see Lemon Pen in 1st place. Good drive from him, maintaining consistency, making up for his mistakes at Monza. His tires not looking too worn, I'd say about 20% at most, and that happens to be on the front right. Bauk 21, the GTR's tires not looking too bad, 6 laps in as well. Thomas Mr. TT, not too bad. Danz, a little bit more worn than 2 of the drivers in front of him, but overall not bad. Swifty logo, possibly with the most wear of the top 5 in that Beetle. Savoy, also on the softs, still looking pretty good. Defcon on those mediums. Those mediums looking similar in wear, except I'd say slightly better than the GTR of Bauk. But good drive from him, just making his way up through the field, past the instance you can see on track, all the way up into 7th from almost last place on those mediums. So if you don't see that one stop possibly working out for him, so we'll go back on with Ruben, who has been historically very good on his tires. And again, that still shows as he's matching Defcon AC on those racing softs with his tire wear. Gonna go drop to 10th place Matt Wing, who is fighting with Alex Rogers right now, also on those racing mediums, as Alex Rogers on those softs doing very well and managed them as well.
It looks like tire wear is pretty spread out, where the mediums are lasting quite a while. Of the people on mediums, Thomas has the worst tire wear as he goes into the first corner into the wall out of the straight. Not helping his cause to keep on the back of the GTR, now 11.5 seconds off.
Yeah, he might have picked up a bit of damage there, as no, he does not, but he was shaking the car out a little bit, possibly trying to get himself back together, trying to keep his focus. Very tight track, very easy to lose your focus. Something else catches your eye and you can make a mistake just like that. Those walls close up very quick, as I see the gap to back now open to 2.3 seconds. And the gap to Dan's closing at about, I would say closing, but it is nothing but increasing as Dan's now keeps dropping farther and farther back. That Lexus must not be very good for the hill section as the gap increases to 2 seconds now. I'm going to go back on board with Alex Rogers, who has pulled away from Matt Wing in 10th place in that AMG. The battle was very close. We're going to go on board DEFCON in 7th, as this seems to be the closest battle on track, with CRubennnn behind him and DEFCON trying to close up to the back of Sable, getting a little loose there out of that chicane.
CRubennnn was also a little loose coming out through the S's. Looks like he is a little shaky coming through, not getting enough control with his car coming down through those S's, losing a lot of speed, and that's not very ideal, but he seems to be keeping on pace with everyone else.
As we see DEFCON on those mediums trying to do his best to stay in the tow of the Porsche in front of him. He has to maintaining it around 8/10. We're going to see here in the braking zone if he manages to close up on those mediums. He does seem to just ever so slightly close up. Good job by DEFCON on those slightly harder tires than Sabloy and that Porsche. Yes, that AMG very good on the brakes, but if you see DEFCON getting a little loose through mid-corner, you don't want to see that. It's going to increase that gap back up. See Ruben still right behind, just waiting for his moment to possibly make a strike.
Now we're watching Alex Rogers as he comes into the pits. BKMZ also as well. Looks like this is going to be their first of 2 stops this race. Also interesting to note that they're almost at half a tank of fuel, just slightly over, 58 and 56% respectively. Lap 7 of 22. You could see some drivers lap 7 about third way through the race. So we will see some more refueling on the next stop. It'll be interesting to see how much fuel they took. Not a lot for people. So the next stop will be longer, as they will need to take in more fuel. So one of the interesting things to see here is that the CRubennnn in the Volkswagen actually has passed DEFCON.
Oh, he has. Yes, we have missed that as we were watching the pit stop. Ruben making an excellent pass on DEFCON. I wonder if DEFCON had made a mistake. It's very possible, as there is a bit of damage on the front of that AMG and on the back. So a lot of racing, as Ruben is now closing right up to the back of Savloy as well. Go on board the Ruben here as he exits the mountain. Sabloy very wide. We can see Ruben get the run on the back straightaway, just closing right up to the back. Sabloy very defensive. Ruben having a hard time finding by. Sabloy just putting his car in the middle of the road, forcing Ruben to go around the outside of the elbow. Both cars even in a dead heat. They're going to look behind. DEFCON not quite close enough. Ruben basically going to try to outbrake the Porsche. Not going to happen. Going to cut back across. The Porsche not quite getting the best line, but going to hold the position.
It's very interesting to see. CRubennnn had a very, very good exit as Savloy goes into the pits.
But Ruben makes a
DEFCON
mistake. Ruben makes a mistake in the last corner, goes very wide, allows DEFCON to close up, but I believe DEFCON must have also made a mistake, as the gap has not quite closed up as much as one would expect from a mistake like that.
Let's see if this was a braking issue. It looked like DEFCON went into the back, and he did. It was just not enough braking into that corner as he essentially pushes CRubennnn. CRubennnn didn't go off, so at least there was not much time lost there.
Do you see that AMG of DEFCON in the tow of the Beetle of CRubennnn, as we see that AMG right into the back of the Beetle, just giving him a slight little tap, letting him know that he's right there, As now the AMG on those mediums doing very good to keep up to that Beetle, which we know is very superior on those tires, on those racing softs.
Yes, and CRubennnn, DEFCON going a little squirrely through that corner, but CRubennnn is going to have the better run. With those soft tires, CRubennnn is managing them very well. DEFCON about the same tire wear on the mediums, so CRubennnn legendary when it comes to tire management as he comes through, going into the S's as they try to outbrake each other. The DEFCON has a little bit of a run coming behind. He's not going to want to pass through these S's. It's too tight, not enough space. They're going to want to try and go through this straight. It looks like DEFCON is close enough to have the toe coming out into the elbow as long as they get it right.
DEFCON closing right up to the back of CRubennnn in that braking zone. He will have the toe here, the gap only increasing to about half a second, as we do see in the back of the shot, Save-Loy, or Matt Wing, I do believe it is. DEFCON is DEFCON's teammate, just way back in the back of the shot. As we do see the AMG of DEFCON closing right up to the back of CRubennnn on the long straightaway as they go through the elbow. We might see DEFCON look to the inside, and he does. DEFCON going to go for the pass. Nice dive on the inside. Good move by DEFCON.
Yep, that was a very good move. Basically shot it through the inside. He sent it, and CRubennnn just, you know, he didn't think that the battle was worth losing the time. So I think he was okay with losing that position. He doesn't want to lose too much time. He wants to catch up to the rest of the pack.
But as we see now, Ruben now trying to fight for that position back into the first corner of turn one. A little bit of a touch between them, but maintaining, staying on the track between them. But now Ruben back up into sixth.
Yep, one of the things is rubbing is racing, and there's definitely a lot of rubbing going on this round.
Yeah, Mount Panorama, infamous for being a very narrow track, as we will see a bit of some paint from other cars ending up on other cars. It is to be expected here, as Ruben now trying to pull away from DEFCON through the mountain section of the gap wider than it was last lap, as we see DEFCON taking a bad line through there. Now the gap opening up to almost over a second, as DEFCON might fall back into the clutches of his teammate Matt Wing in 8th place.
Let's fall back here with Alex Rogers in 9th. He is closing up on Matt Wing with those new soft tires. He's trying to get around on these left-handers, but it looks like he's just going to slot in behind. He might want to take his opportunity as they come down through the S's, see if he can get a better braking zone coming through the elbow. Let's see how this turns out for the next few corners.
Matt Wing had to go defensive to that corner as to not give room for Alex Rogers, but we do see Matt Wing struggling on those worn mediums compared to Rogers' softs, but Rogers into the wall just a little bit. That gap now is open for over almost a second and a half now from a mistake from Rogers. Not what we want to see, but we will see Rogers try to close up to the exit of the last corner, closing the gap by almost half a second in just one corner. Those softs are far superior to those worn mediums.
Yep, those softs are definitely coming into play. That mistake has been mitigated with that very good exit out of the elbow as they come into the chase now. He's going to chase down Matt Wing going into these corners. Let's see if he can get a good run out of the chase.
Closes right up to the back of Matt Wing. Just that Porsche far superior with that new tires. Matt Wing defensive going into this last corner. We're going to see Alex Rogers try to go around the outside, maybe try and look for the undercut on the front straight, but Matt Wing not going to let it happen. Matt Wing still defensive though.
It's a very optimistic move, trying to go through the outside for Porsche. Doesn't have the best turning at the moment. You know, it has superior tire compound. The soft tires, you know, fresher, and Matt Wing on worn mediums. But still, the Mercedes has the better straight line speed. As you know, every time Alex comes out of that toe, he just can't, you know, get enough speed going through the straight to pass the Mercedes.
Mercedes, also another thing to note, is a very wide car, as we do see Dark Reef Sarp disconnecting, and not what we want to see. Mistakes happen, as we do see Matt Wing go very wide through the cutting, but Alex trying to stick his nose in and not quite getting it done. But as I was saying, that AMG is a very wide car, and when you're on a very narrow track, it is very, very hard to pass. I have some racing experience from drivers who make their car very wide, and it is not easy to get by them, especially in a tight course like this. A lot of turns. Alex Rogers will have to wait for his proper moment, possibly keep putting the pressure on Matt Wing, wait for a mistake to happen, and go right by.
Now take a look at this. Look at Swifty logo. He is pushing those tires to the absolute maximum. Look at how his front tires are looking at the moment.
Wow, he is trying to go as far as he can, possibly looking for a one-stop on softs, and he is currently in 4th place, so it might be working out for him with the gap to the driver behind being Bauk in 5th place. I would have assumed might have already pitted, as we do see both leaders pitting now. Both leaders have pitted.
Bauk has already pit as well.
Bauk has already pit, but we do see them all into the pits right now, going for that one stop. Thomas Mr. TT possibly looking on mediums for the rest of the race?
That'll be interesting to see if he does do mediums. Let's see what he comes out with. He comes out with the softs, and he's going to get passed up on Bauk through the pits. Lemon Pen, 4 seconds ahead. Bauk following behind in 2nd, and Thomas Mr. TT 1 second behind the GTR. So those softs now, you know, we saw Thomas Mr. TT having a good run on those mediums, staying with the softs on the GTR for quite a while.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out, we see Alex Rogers all the way from that disastrous start, all the way back up to 6th, now coming back to Swifty Logo, who's just finished his pit stop on a new set of softs. So Alex Rogers going to look for the outside, going through that tight right-hander. Am I going to try and get it done? Don't think you're going to get that pass there, but going to try and pull alongside. Not quite. Very close race from Alex Rogers.
The cutting is a dangerous corner to try and pass through. You only get the chance if they make a mistake. Swifty Logo slow through the corner. You know, Swifty does have fresher tires now in comparison to Alex Rogers, so we'll see how this race develops here for position 5.
You can see them going through with the constant left-hander. Swifty Logo again with the newer, fresher tires than Alex Rogers. But again, a good race from Alex Rogers to come back from last place with that terrible start. We see Swifty Logo staying defensive through the downhill chicane. Alex Rogers now going to close right up to the back of Swifty Logo, who has to adjust his braking line as they come down the rest of the hill. We'll go through that very tight and short left-hander, I should say.
Coming through, they're coming down the mountain now, calling the Conrad Straight. Going into the chase, Alex Rogers in the toe of the VW. Swifty Logo gonna try and maybe go defensive. Let's see what he does. Alex Rogers on the inside, he's gonna cut in. Swifty Logo defensive as they come into the chase. And
as we see Thomas Mr. TT making another pit stop.
He may have forgotten to fuel up. Look,
he did.
Look at
he
his
did.
percentage.
He did forget to fuel up. He has a new set of tires, but has already forgotten to fuel. That's a disastrous mistake for Mr. TT here.
Let's see how long this is going to take. TT is still in the pits as Alex Rogers makes the pass into the corner. They come through turn 1. Is Mr. TT going to come out of the pits in time?
He's going to come out right behind Swifty Logo, but he's going to have to hold out PKMZ here. Right behind him in 7th place.
This is a disastrous thing that happened when it comes to race strategy. Forgetting to get fuel, maybe it was the race crew, you know, something could have happened there. Maybe not enough communication to give him the gas that he needed.
As we went on board with that, watching the mistake from Thomas Mr. TT, Alex Rogers did manage to get by Swifty Logo for that 4th position now. If you do look behind Swifty Logo, we see Thomas Mr. TT holding off PKMZ behind him now in that Alfa Romeo 4C. You see PKMZ getting very squirrely there through the exit of cutting, almost completely sideways, getting 2 tires into the grass. It's managing to hold on to it. Great job by PKMZ to hold control of that car there.
Yep, hitting the curb, gets very squirrely, almost, you know, bends it, but he does save it. That's very good driving for PKMZ.
Right now, the halfway point of the race, we see your top 3. Lemon Pen with a gap of 3.4 to Bauk in 2nd place. Bauk and then Nissan GTR in 2nd with a gap of almost 10 seconds to Dance 303 and the Lexus RCF in 3rd place right now. And Alex Rogers, the man who started the race in 1st position, lost it on the 1st corner, dropped all the way back to 14th. Last place at one point in the race, but has clawed his way back all the way up into 4th place.
Yep, Alex Rogers is on a tear. Seems like he's angry. He wants that 1st position back. He does not want to be finishing 4th. He wants a podium at least. So it looks like like he's going to be chasing down Dan's for that third position.
So we're going to go back to the field. Swifty Logo in 5th place. Thomas Mr. TT in 6th place. After that, the disastrous mistake in the pits. PKMZ in 7th. CRubennnn in 8th. My Save Loy in 9th, who had almost a 2-second penalty. Defcon AC in 10th. Matt Wing in 11th. And Azeron GTS in last place with that Alfa Romeo 4C.
Swifty Logo is pulling away from Thomas Mr. TT. He did have a slight advantage.
As we see Thomas Mr. TT going very wide to that right-hander, almost going into the wall, and KMZ to close right up to the back of him there. See if I can get a little bit of a replay on that. And here he just goes way too late on the brakes. Brakes way after the 50 board, but just scraping the wall. PKMZ having to get on the brakes just to not run into the back of him.
Oh yeah, definitely. One of the things here is that PKMZ has been on a tear as well. He did have fastest lap until Alex Rogers set the newest one. Alex Rogers setting a 2:02.17. That's 0.2 faster than what PKMZ was setting with 2:02.3. So PKMZ is trying to make a tear to try and pass Thomas with that mistake of having to pit twice.
As we see PKMZ again getting very sideways through that corner. Again, let's just watch that. PKMZ getting very sideways through the hill section here, just dipping 2 tires into the grass and was putting it around, but having to really muscle that 4C around the mountain section.
Yep, he's worse for wear on the tires. He's going to have some issues in comparison to Thomas Mr. TT, who did take a new set since he had to pit again anyway.
Yes, that is very true, as PKMZ is still trying to close that gap on his worn softs. I would expect some drivers to make another pit stop here coming up lap 14. Some drivers put on lap 7, lap 8, so I would expect another round of pit stops from some drivers coming up. But we do see the top 5 on that one stop. PKMZ being the first driver possibly to look at a 2 stop here.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about this too much with him being so far out, but Lemon Pen is on an absolute tear. You know, we talked about his consistency issues, but he is basically running away with it this time around.
As we do see a driver issue with My Save Loy having to retire due to an injury with his wrist. Not what we want to see happen to a driver. Normally we see mechanical retirements with a car failure. Not often you see a retirement due to injury, but I guess I would have to agree with your previous statement that Lemon Pen, again proving me wrong, making up for his mistakes that we saw at Monza, just pulling away from the rest of the field and staying very consistent at the front, very in control of the BMW M3.
And this is going to be absolutely crucial for Team BMW. You know, there is a lot of points for winning the race. When you win the race for your team, it seems that you get a ton of points in comparison to other positions. So this is going to be crucial for making up the issues that they had in previous rounds for the Team Manufacturing Championship.
That is absolutely, as we do see Alex Rogers just entering through the elbow right now. The gap to Danish 303 in third, about 8.7. Have to watch over the course of the race, see if that gap drops. Swifty Logo now back behind Rogers with a gap of 1.6. Thomas Mr. TT in 6th, pulling away from PKMZ in 7th. That tire wear finally starting to get a grip, or lack thereof, on that Alfa Romeo 4C. While the field very spread out here, we do see the AMGs in the back of the field. That medium strategy, the strategy in the medium tires, not quite working out for them. As we see Alex Rogers in 7th having to pit now, falling back down the field. Just almost ran out of gas.
Yeah, he did have to pit early. He figured that pitting early is the better idea because he did have those issues with the start of the race. So maybe he decided against having a 2-stop or a 1-stop and adjust his strategy for a 2-stop since he had those issues in the beginning.
Lap 16 of 22, over 7 laps remaining. I believe if my math is correct. But we do see Alex Rogers now making that pit stop with a new set of racing softs and a half a tank of fuel in 8th place. Should be able to get to the end of the race on that. He is trying to make the best comeback that he can, falling from 4th to 8th after make that pit stop. But LemonPen, the gap increasing to about almost 6 seconds.
Yep, it looks like the management of tires at this point is the breaking of the camel's back, per se, because Bauk is running around 202, 203s, where LemonPen and that BMW had been running consistently in the 202s and 201s for a long while before he had pit. Looks like he's settled the car a little bit, running a couple of 203s, but on pace to essentially not let Bauk catch up.
Great job by LemonPen to make up for, again, last round. Dan's 303, sitting in 3rd at a great start from him at the start of the race that we saw. Swifty logo in 4th now, and that being Volkswagen Beetle. And Mr. TT, who had the hit mistake of not grabbing fuel, back up into 5th place now with a large gap of almost 5 seconds. And PKMZ in 6th, who we would expect to pit, and he does now.
Now this changes up the landscape of the race. CRubennnn has been running that one-stop strategy for this race, and he is now up in 6th from having a particularly terrible start with all of those issues going into turn 1. Now in 6th place, this is going to be the time where maybe CRubennnn is going to make that tear to try and chase down to Mr. Thomas. Alex Rogers behind him looming in the background. This is going to be an interesting race to see if they can catch up to Thomas in that BMW.
As you see, PKMZ comes right out in front of DEFCON AC. You would expect PKMZ to just pull away from DEFCON, but DEFCON in the tow going to look for the outside, going to go up into that tight right-hander. The power of the AMG coming with advantage over the 4C, but might have to yield here as that Alpha has the new superior tires.
As they come into the cutting, PKMZ is going to have the better run through, with DEFCON having worse tire wear. Looks like the Mercedes medium tire strategy did not work out this time.
Yeah, they've been having not a very successful second half here after the first 2 rounds, both at Monza and here at Mount Panorama, not working out for those AMGs. AMG, a very good car, but the strategies they've been working with those medium tires in both these races just hasn't worked. I think the superior strategy is just going for those 3 stops on softs as PKMZ gets a little bit into the wall there, getting still very squirrely. That Alpha very light on that rear end, especially in the downhill turns.
Yes, and looking at the race right now, it looks like they did pass up the back marker here, LemonPen in front of Asterzon in the other Alfa Romeo, as Bauk is running behind, slightly a couple seconds behind the race racer.
True, as a lot of gaps between a lot of drivers here. Mount Panorama, not a short track, so we would expect the gaps to be very wide between drivers with pit stops. So we do see the closest race on, well, I was going to say closest race, but that is not the case, as Matt Wing is over almost a minute ahead of Azeron in 11th. But LemonPen, great drive from him, staying very consistent at the front of the race, I should say.
Now he had a really good start. Both the BMWs had a very good off-the-line push, and LemonPen just took advantage of that. There's issues basically from position 4 downward, and it created a lot of drama that allowed LemonPen to just run away.
About 21. Great start from him, all the way up into 4th place after the first turn, up into 2nd now. But the gap to the leader constantly increasing as we believe now all the pit stops are done. Everyone should be good on fuel as we just going to do a quick run through the field, make sure no one has to take another fuel stop, which I don't believe drivers will. Route 21 looks like he's going to be locked into 2nd as long as he doesn't make a mistake. And Dan Strift in the Lexus, the current manufacturer's leader, in 3rd place, going to get some good points for that team.
There's a lot of drama this race, but it seems after a couple of laps, it seems to have settled down. It looks like we're looking at the final standings here at Mount Panorama.
I Again, barring any issues, crashes, or disconnects, this does look to be the top three at very least. The rest of the field still very gapped out with several seconds between each of the positions. The closest battle on track seemingly to be for PKNZ and DEFCON, with the gap almost, I was going to say almost 3.5 seconds, but DEFCON making a mistake coming out on the back straightaway. The gap increasing to almost 5 seconds now.
It's that commentator's curse. You're about to say something.
Just want to go on board with Valk, as I know he's been looking forward to this race for a long time. He knows the GTR is very powerful here. He's in second place now, but how do you think it feels for Valk? In second place, wait for this race all season long. Know your car is very powerful here, but to have the leader in a BMW M3 just consistently pull away from you.
I think it's you know, for a person like myself who kind of just like GTR and Nissan as a manufacturer is one of my favorite ones here in Gran Turismo. I really like the way the GTR feels in general when driving it, and knowing that Mount Panorama is one of its best tracks. It can be kind of defeating. I feel like we're watching you know, the 12 hours at Bathurst all over again. But in this case, you know, the GTR is just too far behind to catch up.
And again, we do see Dan Swift in that Lexus. Currently the sole Lexus representative, his teammate, having a disconnect earlier in the race. But doing a good job by Dan's in that Lexus again. Holding on to third place, going to get scored some solid points for his team. Possibly extend his championship lead if they win for the M3, doesn't close the gap. 50 logo behind him in fourth place in that Volkswagen Beetle. Thomas Mr. TT having the hit mistake earlier on in the race, back in fifth. I don't know how far back the point scoring goes, if it's the fifth place or the entire field scores points, but we do know that BMW will score some good points as Lemon Pen is continuously leading this race. Mistake-free, took the lead from the start of the race through turn 1 and just held it for the rest of the race.
Alex Rogers improving into second position, CRubennnn into sixth. It looks like this is going to be where they kind of slot in for these last 2 laps coming around the final corner. It doesn't look like there's going to be much left going on. And Alex Rogers is trying to catch up to CRubennnn. We can see them. You can see CRubennnn in that Volkswagen looming in the distance as there's 2.7 seconds behind that Porsche.
Yeah, and the gap does seem to be falling between them. Alex Rogers does seem to be closing that gap. We do know Alex Rogers probably the freshest set of softs on the track right now, trying to take advantage of that, trying to make up as many positions as he can. After having that disastrous start of the race, losing off the line all the way back into fourth place, and then getting tracked from behind from PKMZ in the Alpha 4C, and then dropping all the way back into 14th after a mistake through going into the chase. We're making a great comeback, cutting through half the field now, making up, you know, it's 14th to 7th right now, possibly looking at potential 6th place. Great drive from him at the qualifying pole.
Yeah, and like there's only like 6 corners that he's gone through, and he's gone from a 2.7 second deficit now 1.9 seconds as they come through the S's. It looks like Alex Rogers has his sights set for 6th place. As he goes into the wall, it slows him down a little bit, but it's not going to affect him too much going into this elbow.
Yeah, we see him right to the back of Ruben. How was Ruben looking at his tires? Ruben possibly just looking to conserve as much as he can, but Rogers just far superior on his tires right now. It's just driving like a bat out of hell, trying to make up as many places as he can, trying to fill that role for G-Thanks Obama, who had to leave the championship. But great drive, a great replacement driver that they could have found.
Alex Rogers is making a tear, 1.6 seconds going into the chase, as he's going to want to catch up into CRubennnn. This is going to be a very interesting battle to see if Alex Rogers can make it work. He's got, you know, 2 more laps to go. We're on the final turn as we go into lap 21 of 22. This is going to be an interesting fight for 6th place.
Yeah, now dropping to 1.5 seconds, 1.4 as they're going to go through turn 1. Alex Rogers very fast through the end of sector 3 and the beginning of sector 1. Not quite close enough for that Beetle to get the draft on that back straightaway. But still, with that 911, still slightly better than the Beetle, but just ever so slightly. As we're going to see possibly the more that time game through that section. And here in the braking zone, we're going to have a right-hander. With the gap again dropping to 1.2 now. Alex Rogers smells the blood in the water, sees Ruben right in front of him. He knows he's closing that gap. It's going to be he is fighting tooth and nail to claw his way back up from last position after that horrendous start.
Yep, Alex Rogers very good through these first few corners with the cutting as he comes up into the mountain. He's onto the skyline now in these left-handers, getting a very good run. Now 9/10 away from CRubennnn in that 6th position. We're going into the S's. Alex Rogers seems to have the better run. Is he going to have the better brakes? He will. Now 7/10. He's having an absolute terror as he comes down the mountain. Let's see if he can make the pass.
Just scraping the wall a little bit, sparks flying, gaps to 6/10, still back up to 7/10 here, but he's going to close right up to the back of Rubennnn here. He's going to be in the draft onto the back straightaway. We're going to see that Porsche 911 just close right up to the back of that Beetle.
Yep, the appropriately named The Chase, as Alex Rogers is chasing down that Volkswagen into these corners. He's going to take that elbow. He's right behind the Volkswagen. They're going to swing through that right. Now, is he going to outbrake him? No, he's going to think less of it. He's probably going to do it this next lap. He wants to do this final corner. Alex Rogers on the back.
Ruben's defensive into the last corner. Alex Rogers going to go for the outside, going to think better, but not going to make that one work. Possibly going to look for the undercut, but Rubenn parks the car almost on the exit. Rogers has nowhere to go but into the back of him. So we're possibly going to see a pass here in the second front straightaway, I should say, as we're starting the last lap between these two drivers.
This is a super interesting battle as Alex Rogers is going to have the tow coming out into the mountain straight. CRubennnn is going to park himself into the middle of the road. He's trying not to get anyone to pass through. Alex Rogers goes onto the inside. Now he's going to be basically on the outside coming into this corner. Does Alex Rogers have the brake to come through the outside?
But slides wide, but takes the position.
Initial D straight through that corner. Drifts through. Alex Rogers into 6th.
Great job by Alex Rogers to make it all the way back up to 6th place. Takes position from CRubennnn. As we're going to go on board Lemon Pen now in the last lap of the race. A gap of over 11 seconds. He's on the back straightaway. Going to enter the chase soon. Great drive from Lemon Pen. From flag to flag. Takes the first place on the start of the race. Both BMW drivers with an excellent start. And just held it for the entire length of the race.
Yep, they a very, very good job with Lemon on the BMW. CRubennnn makes a mistake through the S's. He's going to drop off from Alex Rogers' tail. So it looks like Alex Rogers is going to secure that 6th place position.
As you see Lemon Pen rounding the last corner, Lemon Pen will take the checkered flag here at round 4 at Mount Panorama.
Very good racing today. We saw a lot of drama. Valk here coming through the final corner. He's coming in 2nd place. Dan's following, 3 seconds behind. He did make an improvement on to Valk, but it wasn't enough. Maybe a couple more laps, and Dan's may have taken 2nd place.
It's very possible, but it also could have been last lap. You saw the gap, so you might have slowed down. Just keep it easy. Don't want to lose control of the car in the last lap. As we see Swifty logo crossing the line in 4th place. Going to see Thomas Mr. TT after that disastrous pits mistake in 5th. We're going to see Alex Rogers in 6th, closing the gap significantly to Thomas Mr. TT in the last lap. Rubenn in 7th. We're going to see PKMZ around the last corner in 8th place after that start issue that he had with Alex Rogers. We're going to see DEFCON AC going to just coming out of the chase now, going to round that last corner, the left-hander, take that 9th place. We're going to see Matt Wing just going through the chase right now. Be the last driver to cross the checkered flag.
This was a really, really good race. It was unfortunate to see that the medium tire strategy did not work out for the Mercedes this time around. Maybe want to rethink what tire compound they want to use for next week.
Interesting little note, even though he wasn't able to make a comeback as Alex Rogers did, we did see PKMZ take the fastest lap at the end of the race. But congratulations to Lemon Pen racing a clean race, taking position, going from flag to flag. Congratulations to LemonPen.
Congratulations to LemonPen. Let's go ahead and run through the race results for this race. Everyone who had participated: LemonPen in BMW won, Bauk in the GTR second, third Dan's 303 in the Lexus, fourth Swifty Logo in the Volkswagen, fifth Thomas in the BMW, sixth Alex Rogers in the Porsche, seventh CRubennnn in the Beetle, eighth PKMZ in the Alfa Romeo, ninth Defcon in the Mercedes, 10th Matt Wing also in the Mercedes, 11th Asterzon in the Alfa, CJ
with the DNF in 12th place.
With the DNF in 12th, and 13th the Lexus, also the DNF. So this is going to be an interesting thing to see how the standings are going to stack up for next week. We will see these racers at the Nürburgring in Germany. How do you think that race is going to happen?
It'll be very interesting. Nürburgring is a very tight track, but it has some long sweeping corners. It'll be very interesting. I think we're going to see the Porsche, possibly the Volkswagen, be very strong there.
Yep, the Volkswagen is a good car around that track. I do think the Porsche is probably the strongest. The Lexus might be able to make a case, and the Alfa Romeo as well. I think this is where the GTR and the Mercedes might have a little bit of struggling going through these next couple of races. But next week we're going to find them at Nürburgring, so it's going to be an interesting one to see.
And as always, thank you for joining us here at the ARC Racing Championship. Thank you for joining us. Don't remember to like and subscribe if you can, if you enjoyed the racing. And as always, keep racing.